High school seniors are missing a lot of milestones this spring, including prom, but stay-at-home orders haven't stopped some students from celebrating. NBC News Now's Dasha Burns shows us how they're doing it in our Class of 2020 series.
Welcome to Prom Class of 2020. We're all doing it safe from home. Thank you for coming.
For the Class of 2020, the coronavirus has meant a lot of missed milestones, including senior prom.
I love getting dressed up and dancing. It was probably the thing I was most excited for senior year.
Had you gotten your dress yet?
Yes.
So you had the dress, you were all ready to go, and then your school announced prom was canceled. How did that feel?
I know it's not like the biggest problem in the world right now, but for me, it was pretty heartbreaking.
Now, students are moving their celebrations online, from TikTok challenges to local celebrations on Zoom. There's even been a few famous faces.
I hope that this is the world's most epic virtual prom.
John Krasinski turned prom host on YouTube, and Maddie Schutze was in from the get-go.
I told my boyfriend about it, and then I made a whole little sign and asked him to prom. My mom did my hair since we couldn't really go anywhere to get my hair done. It just made me feel like people still cared that seniors were missing their senior year. And it was really awesome that he had all these musical guests, especially the Jonas Brothers, because I'm a huge fan.
You're a fan?
That was, yeah, huge, yeah.
For students still looking to celebrate, Teen Vogue is planning another bash on May 16th.
I still remember my prom. I can tell you exactly what I wore and how excited I was. Those moments for young people are really pivotal, so significant to who you are, who you become. And so I wanted to make sure that we, continue to be a place that really hears what young people are saying and tries to, meet their needs.
So what's the plan? What's this thing going to look like?
We're going to dance together. We're going to do some TikTok dances. We'll be like selecting a prom court of some kind, of just young people that are really being active in their community right now and helping their community throughout this pandemic. Yes, of course, we cover a lot of the things happening with COVID-19, but I also want us to be a place that can provide that escape. And I think that our prom, since you'll be able to see your friends and, see how they got dressed up and, see different celebrities, it'll just provide a little bit of that.
In Europe, wine and beer sales are up right now, but fewer people are popping champagne bottles. Some merchants say that champagne sales are down as much as 75%. Helena Humphrey joins us now from Paris. And Helena, you were just in the Champagne region of France speaking to producers there. Why do they think that champagne sales are dropping when other alcoholic beverages are in such hot demand?
Hi there, Alison. Well, as we know, champagne is the drink of socializing, parties, and right now, under lockdown, people just don't feel like popping the champagne corks. And right now, of course, here in Europe, restaurants are closed, hotels are still closed, weddings have been postponed, and as such, there's just not that need for free-flowing champagne. As you mentioned, sales set to potentially plummet up to 75%. That could be a devastating blow for the French economy. French champagne is the #1 export when it comes to food and drink in this country, and the US is a key market, really. It is the second largest international market, but of course a country, as you well know, which has been hard hit by coronavirus, putting those orders on ice for the time being. As you mentioned, I went to the Champagne region. I spoke to producers there, including a family-run house, the Bilcar Salmon Champagne producers. They've been in the business for over 200 years. I spoke to the 7th generation head of that company, Mathieu Roland Bilcar, and he said that his 97-year-old great-uncle, who's still in the business, I might add, said that he has never seen anything like the challenge posed by coronavirus. Take a listen.
I asked him, has he seen anything like that before? Because he'd seen World War II, and he said in his recollection he'd never seen it as bad. Because even during the World Wars, there was a degree of economic activity and people were free to move around. It was a terrible time, but he said he's never seen it as bad.
And so that is just some of the worries. But of course, you know, people will be waiting to see how this unfolds and potentially whether sales pick up towards the festive season as well, when traditionally producers make up to 40% of their profits there as we come towards the new year. Alison?
Yeah, Helena, you mentioned these producers are such a central part of the French economy, just like restaurants and tourism. What else did Matthew tell you about the impact that those closures are having on his business, what his long-term concerns are? I mean, he's part of the house that many of us know very well. I can only imagine also the impact that smaller producers are feeling.
Yeah, absolutely, Alison. And what he's also worried about is where you could see those sales pick up again in the festive period. He said there's a caveat, and that caveat is what if there is a second wave of infection? What could that then do to the market? Take a listen to what he had to say about that.
We are concerned on a personal level as a citizen of the world generally. I think from a demand perspective, it would be catastrophic. We need restaurants and hotels to reopen sooner than later. We understand why they can't for dealing with all the virus, but from a business perspective, the sooner they reopen, the better. Reopening them to close them later is of no help, I think, to the local population, and it's no help to us.
Now, Alison, remember that August is coming up very soon. That is the harvest season. Traditionally, people move people in from across France to pick those grapes from other countries in the European Union as well. Will they be able to do that whilst also maintaining social distancing? Then there's the question, as you mentioned, will smaller producers need money from the French government or potentially even the European Union? Some of them have already pivoted their business to make hand sanitizer using a byproduct of champagne. One thing I will say, though, is that lockdown is set to be eased here in France come the 11th of May. June, we could start to see the reopening of restaurants and bars. And then, as one French chef put it to me today here in Paris, hopefully people will be celebrating the end of lockdown here with a glass of champagne in hand. Alison?
Oh, perhaps they will, and we hope they will, Helena. We know what a difficult time this has been for so many industries there in France. Thank you so much. Fabric shops were some of the first stores to open in Belgium so people there could make their own masks. NBC News correspondent Tessa Arcilia shows us how Belgium is phasing out of lockdown.
Well, Alison, it is a lot less quiet in Brussels today. I've just come out of the metro and public transport have resumed their usual services, but masks are mandatory for anyone above the age of 12. Businesses have also been allowed to reopen, but working from home is still the norm wherever possible. I'm walking down what is normally a busy shopping street, but most shops are still closed, and you can see behind me. They won't be opening until next week, but there are a few exceptions. There's a line forming there across the street, if you can see. Fabric and craft stores are allowed to open today. The idea is for people to be able to get material to make their own masks. I spoke to the shopkeeper earlier, and she said, indeed, majority of the people who came in today wanted fabric and elastics to make their own masks, so much so that some had to walk away empty-handed.
She just told me that they are en rupture de stock. They've run out of stock in all of their shops, so there's no point in me going to another shop of Veritas. So I just have to make do with whatever I've got, which right now is rubber bands.
Starting today, people are allowed to go for walks or exercise outdoors with two other people who don't belong to the same household. But those two people should always be the same. So Belgians will have to think carefully and choose their friends wisely. It's unclear how this is going to be monitored, though. In the past 24 hours, there have been 77 hospital admissions with COVID-19. Now, they want to keep this number to below 200 because if that changes, the government says they're ready to make a U-turn.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.